Hello and hello. Oh, I'm giddy already. Hello.
Hello.
Dear.
Hello.
Hello, Mrs. Doubtfire here. Oh, what a start! What a start!
We're on fire.
I'll leave it to your discretion whether you keep that in. Welcome to episode 36 of the Adoption and Fostering podcast. I don't know why we've just gone a little bit giddy there, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, with me, Al Coates.
Yeah, I'm coming to that, yeah. But
okay.
So with him, Al Coates, and with me, Scott Catherine Rennie.
Hey! Haven't we had a busy year?
It's only February, isn't it? Maybe February.
It is February. It is February, but it's been so exciting this year. I've had a lovely year so far, and I think.
Oh, I worry about you. Go on.
No, but I think we've had some fantastic guests on the podcast this year up till now. And the thing that's made me most happy is that I think all of our guests this year, all of our programs have had adoptees on, apart from the Carrie Grant one.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah. See, I thought you were talking about the whole 12 months, not just like since January.
No, just this last.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh, it's the end of February, which is the yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you well?
I hate you asking me that question when you're recording a podcast. What do you want, my life story? Am I well in health? Yes. And everything else? No. There you go. How are you, Al?
I'm not that bothered. I was like a cursory, polite question. You know, are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. I'm fine.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You're looking a bit tired. Would there be... Oh, yes, because... Did you like what I did there?
Seamless.
Because since we last spoke, you've become a granddad.
Yay, Granddad Al.
Yeah, at the age of 25. I mean, wow.
46 or something. Yes, I became a granddad. And it's been a genuine revelation, because I was not knowing what to expect, or whether I would become like a... or what sort of emotions it would evoke. But as it was leading up to the grand day, because it was all planned, I mean, literally, what became apparent... I didn't do anything. It was fantastic.
Obviously. I've heard about that, about menfolk.
Well, I'm the father of the daughter or something. Yeah. But what was really interesting was... and what became really apparent was that Paula and I literally know nothing about having babies.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like literally, and our daughter would say, "Oh, this is going to happen, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that," and I'm like, she's literally speaking a different language to me. So she said to me, she said to Paula, "I'm going to have a sweep," and Paula just nodded and said, "That's fine." And then Paula came back to me and she said, "She's going to have a sweep," and I said, "Well, what?" I said, "What's that?" And she said, "Well."
I'm sorry, I should laugh.
It's really embarrassing. And so she said, well, I think, and I'll use Mrs. Coates' vernacular. She said, well, I think they put the hand up and give it a swirl around. And I said, you can't. I said, you can't be swirling babies around. Surely it's 2018. You don't swirl. They'll have an instrument or a device, but apparently that is exactly what they did. And then lo and behold, baby E came along. And so yeah, I'm a granddad, which is really quite moving.
That's really interesting, because I always just wondered if it was men that didn't know much about it, and I guess that kind of answers that question a little bit, doesn't it? And I know that we talked about this very, very, very briefly a couple of weeks ago, didn't we, when we saw Jenny?
Oh yeah. Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Jenny Jones.
Hey, MBE.
MB. Yeah, I mean, I probably know quite a lot about that sort of thing, actually, but I think that's my friendship group. And then Mrs. C must as well in some ways, but...
I don't know.
So it's quite a strange thing to think about, isn't it? Whether it's... and it doesn't... I guess it doesn't matter about whether you're like you and Mrs. C, so male and female, or me and Tris, male and male.
Yeah. Ignorance knows no bounds.
Yeah, we don't know why they've got funny shaped heads.
No. Well, I mean, Lottie is out of all of us. Lottie is the one that's done the reading up, and she gave us a very technical explanation of what happens to umbilical cords, and she was using words that we'd never heard before. So she was very impressive at 12.
But so I'm assuming Lottie is never going to have children now, ever.
No, Lottie is up for it. She's just.
Oh really?
Yeah, okay. She's going to be a solicitor, and as she said today, she's going to be a solicitor, and if that doesn't work out, she'll be a social worker.
Okay.
Yeah, or a vet. So she's aiming high. Okay. But one thing that I did find quite profound, and seriously though, bringing it back down seriously though, it was really odd because there was the norovirus was in the hospital, so it took a couple of days before we could get to see little baby E, and it was really peculiar experience. Sort of, I was moving him around, and I got left alone with him for a few minutes, and I just thought, this is the first baby. For one, it's the first baby that's been born in my direct family since 1971. I was the last baby born.
Yeah.
And I looked at him and I thought, the potential is just amazing. And all of my children have come, even though Lottie was 3 months when she came. All of them have come with this other story, with this. There's an element of them being on loan, or them coming with they bring something to the partner, but then there's this little person, and the first person I looked at him and I thought, crikey, there's no other story, there's no other people. He's the first child in our family who hasn't got another mother or another dad or another, and it was just quite quite
profound actually.
Yeah, we've got a clean slate, and for us, we seem to be spending our time trying to work out what was on the slate beforehand and trying to, I don't want to draw the slate metaphor out too much, but I think you know what I mean. So yeah, it's been quite a profound experience, and the best thing was he made a little poo-poo, and I gave him back. So that was great.
That's even better, isn't it? That's the kind of kid you want.
Yeah, he's a keeper.
And I guess the question then is, what's his nickname for purposes like podcasts and stuff?
I think he'll be Baby Egg.
Baby Egg. That's fair enough. Yeah. That fits. I like that.
Yeah.
And when are we interviewing him?
Well, he's one of those babies that I'm quite jealous because he literally just sleeps and wakes up to be fed. Yeah.
For now.
For now. Wait till I give him his first Skittles and Sunny Delight.
A week on Wednesday.
Yeah. Just a wee sip of this. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Fluffy
feelings.
Just going to
say, well, congratulations to you and Paula on becoming parents, and to your daughter on becoming a mother. And, like you say, this is all firsts, I guess.
Yes.
For you all.
It's a brave new world, and we're enjoying it so far.
Good.
Yes, good. Anywho, enough about me. I've worked hard not to talk about me in the podcast.
You have. You've done really well now. I'm really proud of you. Well done now.
I slink into the shadows. I'm aware that next week is the LGBT Adoption Week.
LGBT Adoption and Fostering Week.
Oh, I'd not noticed that. Well, shame on me.
I know.
Not very good. And I was just thinking, last year you interviewed 3 of your friends, didn't you?
2, I think, wasn't it? Wasn't it 2?
Well, we'll skip over that. Rather.
Yeah. Delete that bit. No, it was 2. It was 2. So I talked to male and female, didn't I?
Yeah. So I'll edit that bit. So last year you spoke to a couple of your friends for the podcast, but this year we've been way busy, and But what I actually thought was, you are a very experienced adopter, and apparently you're in a same-sex relationship. That's what they tell me. I've met Tris. So I just.
And he was wearing men's clothes, so yes.
He was wearing men's clothes.
Night he was.
At least at the start of the evening.
Yes.
We laugh because it's funny. We laugh because it's true. So I was just wanting to kind of run it by you, really, because I was looking at some of the stats, and What year did you adopt? I should know that, but was it 2000?
Well, by coincidence, it was 10 years ago last week that we were granted legal adoption.
Right.
It'll be 11 years in May when we were placed. So
what year did you started the process? I presume
we started the process back in 2005 because actually, again, by absolute chance, we came across our prepare to adopt course certificate that we got, that we were very it was so exciting. I feel like I need more of a certificate now, but and that was October 2005, or even it might have even been 2004. So yeah, it took us a while. This was back in the days where there was no kind of statutory timescales and stuff.
Yeah, but if you're saying 2005, you are then literally the first cohort of same-sex couples going through, aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, we were the first same-sex couple that adopted through our local authority.
Yeah.
So it was kind of very much a learning experience for everybody involved. I believe there was a female couple, but they weren't out when they adopted a couple of years before. So one of them adopted as a single person.
Ah, right.
Because that was the way you did it back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm really, I mean, I don't even know if you can find this stuff out, but I don't know where we came in kind of the rankings. I know there was, I've met a few, and I don't mean rankings as in who's the best parent. Yeah. I mean in terms of who was first through the door. Because I've met, over the years, I've met a couple of people, a couple of same-sex adopters who've got similar age children to mine and adopted around the same time or a little bit earlier. So, but I don't think there's too many.
But I mean, 2005 is right at the beginning, though, isn't it? I mean, because the law, it's the 2002 Act, but it didn't come into place until 2005. Is that right? So because I was just sort of thinking about it, and what really, I mean, I've lived a fairly sheltered life, so up in Northumberland, out in the sticks, but I was talking to a friend about something else, and it came up. The issue came up of same-sex adoption and fostering, and he kind of said, which I was a little bit surprised of, because I kind of thought of him as quite a progressive sort of person. He said, yeah, but it's still an experiment, isn't it? It's still, no one knows what the outcome is and I kind of was taken aback, and I thought, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't agree with that particularly. But do you still, I mean, what's that? Now you're 13 years from your starting the process. Do you still get that response as a same-sex couple?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. No, we don't.
Do you know?
I think it's mixed, and I'm not as daft to think as. Not as daft as thinking this is the only experience that anybody's had. I know there's people who've had issues. I think that it's very similar. Tris was one of these kind of gay guys who marched for equal opportunities and stuff in London. I was going to say the 70s then, not the 70s, because he's the same age as you, but very kind of when he was 18. So he marched for equal age of whatever it was called, I can't remember, and all that sort of stuff. And I think that because we've just kind of lived our little quiet lives, and when it's not the kind of, we don't live in the sort of place that you would expect would be quite accepting, actually, because we were quite panicked by it all. We were new to the area when we'd only lived here a couple of years when we had the boys placed. But actually, we've not had too much of an issue with that, and to our knowledge, nor have the kids really. There's things that have come up, and we've gotten to them. We've addressed them and stuff. There was a couple of things happened on social media, and we addressed it with the school, and things like my middle son, when he was at primary school, he did a Mother's Day card that said to Mum. And the TA just didn't know how to deal with it, so it was kind of everybody was learning. But a lot. I mean, I still hear about a number of people, but not frequently. And I think that there
was someone on social media, wasn't it, this week, a couple of weeks ago, who was talking about the challenge of negotiating Mother's Day. What they were, I think they were having perhaps a special assembly, and you know how who's you're the only man in the room literally, so or you might one of very few. So I still, as a society, I guess we're still trying to work out how to negotiate those.
Exactly.
Norms.
And a very similar thing I saw on social media, someone whose child just started at nursery. It was on Twitter actually, and they were very proud of their child and for this thing that they brought home from nursery, and it was about teaching them colours of the rainbow, which is kind of relevant to the LGBT community. But interestingly, on the kind of details for the parents, it said so that mum and dad can and it's that assumption that actually, I mean, don't get me wrong, not a huge amount. There's enough population to be able to start changing these mindsets of things that you write, but it just kind of, to know that you've got a child starting in the nursery who does have same-sex parents, you would kind of start looking at these sorts of things and thinking, is this appropriate? According to what the guy said on social media, she did apologise, and that's fine. It's not done maliciously in a number of ways, but that kind of is the same with the birth certificate thing,
Because
you got parent 1, parent 2 now, haven't you? I think on the adoption certificate, I believe, rather than mum and dad.
Yeah.
Or male and female, or whatever it was. I don't know. Excuse me. But I think there's still some things that needs ironing out. A few creases.
I was thinking about this, and for literally millennia, we've had men and women getting married or in relationships, and we're still in years. We're counting in years that men and women can be kind of open in that. So our whole society is just wired that way, and so it's just going to take time. But I was looking at the statistics, and 1 in 8 adoptions in Wales and 1 in 10 adoptions in England are between same-sex couples. So that, in that context, within this community, you're probably, you are, I would imagine, overrepresented, aren't you, as parents? Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Overrepresented or underrepresented?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to get the Kinsey report out. It's on the shelf somewhere.
There used to be this thing about 1 in 10 people are gay, and I think it's now 1 in 5 people are gay. But that's because society is a lot more accepting, so a lot more people have come out as gay.
Yeah.
I think that. I would like to see a little bit more than 1 in 10. I mean, if we've got the population that people say that we have in terms of acceptance and tolerance, and people who are able now to be who they want to be or who they are, that it should be a little bit higher than that. But I'm not a statistician, and I'm not really hugely one of these people that will sit and read kind of things like that. But to me, that seems quite low.
1 in 10 adoptive families.
I think it was 1 in 12 a couple of years ago, wasn't it? So that's the odds are better now.
Yeah.
But it's yeah.
When you sat on panel, didn't you? You've been on a couple of adoption panels. Is that right?
I have. Yes.
I've been
I feel like this is Jeremy Paxman interviewing Scott Casanelli. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I
did. Yes. What?
You did. Yeah. And what of it? And your point is, just answer the damn question. So did you? And did you see same-sex couples come through your panels? And
I did.
Obviously. Yeah. And was that? Again, that you were on a panel. When were you on panels?
So from blimey, must have been from 2012 to about. Well, I'm still on a panel now, even though I'm very rarely able to sit on it. But so probably for the last 5, 6, 7 years actually, when I think about it. And it's very strange because actually I used to do the I started off delivering the training to when you go for your prepare to adopt thing. And it kind of crossed over with some people coming to panels. So obviously I had to sit out and stuff. But when it started to get interesting when same-sex couples came through, because I guess I brought a little bit of a different kind of slant to it about things like that. So it's similar. I have a big thing. I had a big thing, should I say, about faith and religion when I sat on the panel. So this is probably the reverse of someone who might be a little bit. misunderstanding about same-sex relationships and stuff like that. I had a bit of a misunderstanding about religion and faith and all that kind of stuff. So I used to say, well, they go to church every Sunday. What if that child does not want to go to church, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And banging my fist on the table. And I had to learn from the experiences of asking them these questions. And in actual fact, it did become, rightly or wrongly, it did become a kind of question if someone was quite into their faith, was, well, what if the child doesn't want to go to church on Sunday? What are you going to do about it then? And I'm not sure if that's the same for, all panels. But when it came to the LGBT thing, it was more about, their kind of what they were expecting from their, they might be well embedded into the community, but they might still get questions and things like that. So I used to get quite excited when same-sex couples did come through, because not only was it another same-sex couple coming through, yay, but it was also an opportunity to kind of just share some of that experience, I guess, or share some of the kind of concerns that I would have as a same-sex.
Well, I guess that's the whole point of a panel, is you have people on there with a range of experiences who can ask pertinent questions from that personal experience. Because I sat on a panel from 2008 to 10, 11, when I started my degree, and there was only one, maybe two families came through that was same sex, and as I said, I jokingly said I lived quite a sheltered life, or a culturally conservative life, because of just how I'd grown up and kind of the where I found myself as a young man. And so I kind of thought, all right, well, it was laid out before me as I joined the panel, we equal opportunity to all that, and then it happened, and I kind of thought, well, okay, right, fair enough. Let's. The benchmark is, can they meet the requirements of the regulator? That's beyond that, and just I found it really interesting, because I felt that actually they brought something that another, like a heterosexual couple, couldn't bring. They had that, perhaps because of their own experiences and because of their own journey, they brought something that, like everyone brings different things to the panel, don't they? Everyone's Form F is not Form F, sorry, their PAR. Used to be Form E. Their PAR brings out those strengths, and as a couple, this couple had brought strengths that that I wouldn't be able to bring in. And I think you've said it to me before. You've talked about how heterosexual couples who've experienced childlessness may experience the loss on the trauma or the challenge of going through IVF however many times, and infertility and looking at options. Well, as you and Tris, that just wasn't even on the...
Yeah, that wasn't... I mean, and that's... I don't know how... It's an interesting one, because this is something I do think about quite often, is, currently... I don't know, say a 22-year-old who is gay and maybe is embarking on a long-term relationship, and that kind of the ability, Tom Daly just said last week that he's him and his partner, husband, whatever, are going down the surrogacy route. Those options are available now. They were never, when I was 15, I remember where I was, and I didn't know anything about sexuality, but I just remember thinking to myself, I'm never going to have children.
Wow.
And I can still remember, I can remember exactly what I was doing and where I was and all that sort of stuff. And it was that realization, I'm never going to have children. I didn't know why I wasn't going to have children, which is quite bizarre, really, when you think about it. But a 22-year-old now doesn't have that kind of same thing, and there's lots of people. You only have to go on Twitter or Facebook to find those people who've actually gone before you to do it, and you can see that you can do it. So they don't have that kind of that feeling of not being able to do something that actually you may want to do, and I think that's probably why we didn't want to have babies and stuff, because we hadn't really immersed ourselves in any of that before the boys were placed, because we just always accepted that we would never have children. It was never an option, ever.
Was it even a conversation you'd had as a couple?
No, I don't think it was, actually. I don't think we'd ever had it until we cared for a young man on a student exchange from Spain who's getting married in August, and we're going to his wedding. He calls us his English parents. But it wasn't until then, and we just thought, actually, do you know what? This was quite fun. We should have just stuck to the shouldn't. I'm joking.
I'm saying nothing. I can cut this bit out.
But yeah, no, we'd never talked about it, and it was from that point. And he is to blame for us having children. He knows he's to blame as well. But yeah, no, it never come up in discussion. We'd never discussed it until that point.
That's interesting because that had never crossed my mind that you, as a young man, regardless of how you perceived your sexuality, but you had sort of said, just realised that actually that it was never an option, because that's different to me as a heterosexual 15-year-old, that there was never any doubt that if I wanted children, I would have them. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah,
in some ways, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and look at me now.
Yeah, I know.
We'd go back and talk to those 15-year-olds, wouldn't we? We'd have serious words.
I'd have words with him.
Honestly,
I'd say to him, never have children. No, I'm joking. I wouldn't say that. I would never change my life, as you know.
I know exactly what you're saying. We're just being flippant and silly, and we love our children dearly. Having a laugh.
We're having a laugh.
Exactly. I don't think that. I mean, I think that.
But I will just kind of
no, please do.
I do apologise.
Share with the group
for interrupting you. But the one thing that I do hear a lot of is just going back to your experiment point, is this and I guess I hear much more from America than I do in the UK. It's about, well, you're going to turn them gay. And I think that, it's just a ridiculous statement, isn't it? I mean, I think if you've got any intelligence about you, that that's not going to happen. I have not come across as yet an adopter who said to me, "Yeah, I turned my children gay," or that their child may be gay. I've spoken to one person, I think, who his child did have issues around his sexuality, but do not most children do at some point.
Yeah.
So that in itself, I mean, it's insulting to say the least, because it's just one of those things,
and it takes me back, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it takes me back to the adoption team manager with the agency that we adopted through, and she's not there anymore, and she was getting on in years, shall we say, when we were going through the process, and she actually made a comment.
Let's not name anybody. Please don't name anybody.
No, I won't. Get done for slander. But she actually made a comment that we would never be able to adopt boys, and we were like, why? And she said, well, because you're men. Yeah. We're gay men. That doesn't mean to say we're paedophiles. There's a big gap there. And we couldn't convince her, and we're really thankful. In fact,
you couldn't convince her. Whoa, wind that back.
We really couldn't. Our social worker had to get involved to take it any further, because she was convinced that we would be interested in young boys.
A stereotype, kind of that. Yeah. It's worse than a stereotype, isn't it? It's slanderous.
Yeah, it is. And had it not been quite a learning experience for all of us, I think that we probably would have. You wouldn't. Anybody said that now, you'd be. Well, they'd be sacked within a minute, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Excuse me. But our social worker, and I'm still very good friends with our very original social worker. She actually took it up, and she just came back to it. She went, "Don't worry, I'll sort it." She said it was just a kind of a little
hiccup.
Yeah, tiny little hiccup. But it made us think about how we'd be perceived as well. And during the prep course, when they're asking you about this, the safeguarding questions that they're doing, if you were alone and you had a little boy, would you bathe him while your partner was out for the evening, and all those questions,
which is fostering, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they did that with our adoption training, and they're just not even practical questions, really, because
it's
life
a nonsense,
has to go on.
Isn't it? And I always think that. I know that there's a sense of you, like with the safer caring, which is stuff that we run through foster carers all the time. There's an element of you protecting yourself by your actions. Yeah. But you think, if people are intent on doing wrong, they will do wrong. And the fact that, the whole thing about, leaving a door open and all of that kind of stuff, it's removing the potential for an accusation.
Yeah. And just going back to the LGBT thing, I mean,
sorry,
20
years
ago, no, but 20 years ago, Al, you've admitted yourself to me that, you didn't really have a great understanding of how this might work either. And you wouldn't have been sat I mean, you wouldn't have been doing a podcast 20 years ago anyway, because obviously we're ahead of our time.
We are so street. Down with them kids.
With the #1 UK adoption and fostering podcast. Hashtag just saying. I
have no idea what you're saying anymore.
But you wouldn't have sat here talking to me like you do and having the banter that we do 20 years ago, because you hadn't had the life experience that you've had now to be able to.
No. I mean, as I say, I lived in a cultural cul-de-sac. I lived in my kind of being part of a church community. For whatever reason, that church community was pretty closed to anything who wasn't white, middle class.
Yeah.
We were. That's just who we were, and I got bored there. So I grew up. I did get bored. I just think, well, this is just a little bubble. I don't want to live this, and kind of just stepped out of that and really discovered a world out there that's incredibly exciting and fun. My refrain, the original question, which was about the guy who sort of said, well, it's an experiment, and I thought, well, actually, it doesn't hold water for women, because historically for millennia, women have raised children, without men, for all kinds of circumstances following war or just feckless men doing off. And men have not been given the opportunity to do that, or it's not been socially acceptable, or socially that's the role that has been given to them. So I think that I have no worries. I look at your children and they're perfectly balanced.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, they're all right.
They're all right. All right.
They're all right. I mean, you never know with teenagers, stroke adults, whether they're actually, all right in the way that you and I think of all right. But, we will come out of another end somewhere along the line, and, we will find out. But in terms of, has it done any more damage to the children? Definitely not. Definitely not.
So I can't believe you're measuring your parenting in terms of damage. That's really
no. That's probably the wrong word. But but people do refer to this is how it all started out. And if you read some of the stuff online from all these uneducated beings, they talk about it doing more damage to children. The damage has been done to those children. Let's face it. Through some of the early life experiences, and you could sit here and argue who is it male? Are males better parents or females? Does it matter? As long as we're providing something that these children need, which is I know that people hate it when people say this, but yes, a loving, nurturing environment on top of all the rest of the stuff that we have to do. Actually, that's the basic. That's the basics that you would want from from life, isn't it, for any child? And it doesn't matter whether you're male, female, or alien. That should matter. It should matter. And of course, thinking about it from 11 years ago, you potentially wouldn't have many transgendered families coming forward. And I think that's probably a relatively new thing. I know there are a few.
Yeah.
I don't know of them personally, but I know that definitely at work we have some who work with our media team to do stuff. But yeah, that's kind of
it's become it's become more prominent, more considered, more talked about, more looked at, and I think it is something that again society's having to go, whoa, we just got used to this. What's this all about then? And even the language that we use, people are struggling because that language is kind of it's much more nuanced and much more. There's a lot more going on in there. So, but we'll watch this space and see what
comes of everything.
And children
in
are
20 years.
Yeah, and children just roll with it, don't they?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, when I think back, we found, like I say, that for some reason, I think we were changing the boys' folder over because the information has just got so much. So we've now got a pallet at the back door ready for all their information to sit on. So they were changing the folder over, and we came across like the very first picture that Brandon drew for us, which was a footballer in an FC Barcelona kit, because that was one of the first things that we'd bought from was an FC Barcelona kit. It said to Scott and Trish, lots of love from your son Brandon. Bearing in mind he only knew us about 2 weeks before that. And if it's done right, I think it can work really well. And it was done right with us. I have to say, we had some fantastic social workers involved with the boys back then, and they really wanted to see it a success, and they were really supportive of us. And I think that's touch wood, that's the luck that we've had all the way through. We've had our ups and our downs, like every other family who comes through the care system and goes on to adoption. But I think that really set us in good stead, because actually someone was willing to invest that time in us as well as the boys. So they, all three of them, just accept. They just. I'd certainly in their early years, for the older two, I'm not so sure about now, but they just accepted they had a family which they wanted.
Yeah.
And how they got there was another story, but they got the family they wanted. Yeah. Regardless of whether it's mum and dad.
And now whether they like it or not, they've still got it.
Exactly. They're stuck with us. Literally.
You've got the papers.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to move on? I'm conscious that we've got quite a few things now. A little list to talk about. Is that okay? We could talk about Shauna versus Cat. It's like a Shauna versus Cat.
Right.
Yeah. Smart money's on Cat. I listened back to the two podcasts that we did. We did Shauna, and then we did Cat, and they were two very different perspectives. And I listened to them both. They were, and I have to say the response to them both was really, really positive. And I look across the statistics. Hello, Madagascar.
Hello, China. How are you?
Hello, China. It's like Eurovision, isn't it? And I was looking across the podcast, and I was realizing that often there's a kind of a spike of downloads for ones that have adoptees in. And I thought, well, what's all that about? And I thought, actually, that we're all just longing to know what's going on inside our children's heads, aren't we? As adopters.
Yeah. And I think what interests me, obviously, there are very different stories, but there was a very similar kind of there was some similarities. I mean, obviously their backgrounds are different, and their Kat's experience was very much what I would compare to current kind of cohort of children who are coming through, I guess, if that's even the correct phrase to make. But actually, there were still some things that and I know I've spoken to Shauna since, and it's not brought up any issues for her, but it's got her thinking about things that she never really thought about before.
I did worry. I think I texted you. I repeated saying,
"Yeah, you did.
Is she okay?
No, she's fine. She's absolutely fine. Yeah. But there is still a thread.
Yeah.
Regardless of their experience, and I think that's quite interesting. That Kat is probably I don't know. Even looking at some of the tweets from people, saying how well she spoke. I mean, she did. She was absolutely amazing to come on and talk with such passion about her experience, and it was like just listening to a normal person, and I guess that's what we want for our children, isn't it? But that is, I would love to think that in 5-6 years' time, that's how my two older ones are going to be able to speak about their experience with
insight to themselves and be able.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kat acknowledged that she knows some things that have some of the kind of behaviours that she has now as an adult are as a result of some of the kind of experiences that she's had. So, but to be able to recognise that, I think, is really, really, really. I think it's just amazing, actually, and I think that was the difference, because you've got the opposite sides of the coin there, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got someone who actually acknowledges because they know it, and then you've got someone who actually is now thinking, "Oh, I wonder if that is because of duh."
But does that not perhaps reflect the two different timeframes, because Shauna was adopted in the 70s, so very much part of that historic adoption system of you adopt, that's that done, get on with your lives, to a mum and dad, get on with your lives, just raise her as your own, and probably told to not mention it or not make a big thing of it, stiff upper lip, crack on. Whereas Kat kind of came she said 93, didn't she? She was a child. She had all her memories. She knew all her stuff, which really is much like you said. It reflects there's the cohort that comes through now. That's it felt very contemporary.
Yeah.
But still, there was those universal themes, and I often look across. There's not an awful lot of UK adopters on Twitter, but there's a much bigger cohort from America, and the system is almost non-comparable. It's and even with Australia, there's similarities, but the themes are universal of loss, of separation, of identity, are just woven throughout the whole topic, and you can't get away from it, whether you like it or not. You've got to, at some point, resolve those issues.
Exactly. And I think you're right that, we all want to have an insight into what what their perceived issues are, because we always talk about adoptee voice, don't we? Or the voice of the adoptee, and it's very difficult to get that from a child, as in a child of a younger age. But actually, that I think is the relevance of CAT to, us now, is we all want to know what we're dealing with, I guess.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just don't know.
Well, like you, we're really open about it, because just the nature of our families, you can't not be, because of the incoming of birth family and stuff. It's it's played out all the time, every day, every week. And so all the time I'm thinking, but what are you really making of this? We're maybe searching for something we can't have.
Well, that's the thing as well, and how far should you go to try and, I mean, don't get me wrong, we need to understand. Of course we do. We need to have that empathy to be able to deal with certain situations that come up. But actually, I don't know. You also have to allow people the opportunity to naturally go through things that they might need to go through to get to a certain stage. And it's just about recognizing when it goes, I don't know, maybe I'm talking about something I shouldn't be talking about publicly, but I just feel that sometimes we over analyze some of the behaviors that maybe our children have.
I think you've opened a huge can of worms there, because probably like the conversations between you and Trace and me and Paula usually run like this. You're overthinking that, and she'll say she'll say no, this is because of that, this is because of this, and I'm going, no, they're just miserable, they're just or they're
wee buggers.
They're just being little so-and-so's. Oh, they're just, and she'll go, no, it's because when they were this happened, and you kind of that must be played out in every adoptive family.
Yeah, I hope it is, because sometimes you do feel quite alone when you're thinking like that, and especially when as a couple you might disagree on stuff, or maybe not see quite as eye to eye as you hoped you would on certain subjects. And as long as I guess if I guess the good thing is, if you've got that in a relationship, then at least you can, that one of you there is to pick up on the stuff that you can't pick up on, and vice versa. I guess that's one of the things that I always think about anyway, like that, because I tend to be like you.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's fine. Don't worry about it. No, it's fine. I need to just go to bed now. And just like, no, we need to
dig deeper.
And I think that's why we complement each other. And I think that's probably why you and Paula complement each other, because you've got that awareness, and you might not recognize it when you're going through tough times, and it might be quite an issue in terms of relationship, as partners, or husband and wife, or husband and husband, or wife and wife, or
we're back on that again, aren't we?
Everybody. Trying to cover everybody in that. But that's an interesting one.
Yeah. So that's been mulling around my head, and there was an interesting blog, I think, about adoptee voices that I read, or from How to Be Adopted, which I found really interesting, about her perception on adoptee voices. But anyway, I'm not going to get into that, because that's my perpetual pondering on that issue. Right, I'm aware of the time, and we're ticking along. So what did you think of Carrie Grant?
O to the M to the G. I mean, she was fat. Oh, Carrie. Do you mean Carrie Grant, friend of the show?
Oh yes, I do mean Carrie Grant, friend of the show.
Stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Jenny Jones MBE.
Yeah.
do you know what? I have to say, I absolutely adored listening to that back. I listen to them because I feel I have to sometimes. That sounds really
thank you.
bad. But no, sometimes I do listen to them back. But when I hear my own voice, it's like, oh, it's that kind of.
Yeah.
But actually, just listening to Carrie and from
Me?
I tell you what probably helped was the fact that was I on a sun lounger in Thailand at the time? Yes, I was. I was in 35-degree heat.
The law of averages says that you're on sun lounger somewhere.
But just listening to it back, Al, seriously, that woman knows her onions, and she was just so engaging with us, and she just went for it. She really did. She was really nervous before she started as well. I mean, you wouldn't think a performer would be feeling like that onto our little shady podcast that we do. But yeah, and the feedback from people we didn't know. I think our followers on the Adoption podcast Twitter feed must have increased as a result of her. So.
Yeah, it's really good. I have to say, I spent about 2 hours listening back to it, and I had to edit it, and it was predominantly the editing was predominantly making our words and sentences into sense. There was very little. There was nothing to edit because she was just spot on the mark. You asked her a question, you gave an answer. So yeah, so are we being sycophantic now? Are we slipping into fanboy?
No, I don't think we are. I tell you what. I think you generally think that because she's in the public eye, that actually she may have minded what she was saying, but actually she didn't. She was really passionate about her children and about the adoption process and autism and all that sort of stuff. And I think that shone through actually. Yeah. I really do. And I liked her a bit about she's her two daughters who went to Westminster and got involved in some form of lobbying. I can't remember if she said what it was, but that's the kind of they are. They want to get involved, they want to get stuck in, and just bloody brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Normally people would worry about the reputation doing stuff like that, and back in
Yeah, she was all out there. She didn't hold back, did she?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, no, she didn't. So fabulous.
Friend of the show.
I really hope that we have her back.
Yeah,
friend of the show. In fact, I've actually moved into her house.
Have you?
She offered us to go along, didn't she? And I snuck in. Yeah, so I now sleep in her basement with my sleeping bag.
Creepy. Oh, if only you were joking. That's quite sinister, isn't it? No, we should do that. Should we do a roving report? Because I'm sure, through the person who got me in touch with her, I'm sure I could find out where she lived. No, we've slipped into creepy now, haven't we? That's really creepy.
I hate to tell you, but I now have her address, so I'm one up on you there. So I could go and stalk her anytime.
So we need to find out what night
just to be clear.
Why don't we just put it on Twitter? Her adoption support group is on, and give a date and time and place, and just see what happens.
She would really not thank us for that.
I don't think she would.
Having this taken off here.
Yeah, I think there would be lawyers involved, and blue flashing lights. So that was rather smashing. I think the other thing is I was in Parliament last week. Get me.
You were.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry not to make it, but
no.
Somewhere else. I think.
Yeah, and it was very interesting to see that the child-to-parent violence was being debated in the Commons, which was fantastic. MP Toby Perkins gave 15 minutes, and that was just fantastic. And it was nothing to do with me, just in case. What I've been worrying recently is when I kind of write my little blogs about DFE, people think, "Oh, thank you for all the work you're doing," and I keep thinking, all I do is just tell people what's going on. I'm not actually doing anything, as you know.
That's called transparency for you, though, isn't it? You like to be transparent, and you want people to know what's going on with what you're doing with stuff that might affect the community. So, I understand that.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes it has the opposite effect for you, sadly, where you get
Jip.
Maybe one person, maybe two people, maybe even three people think that you're doing it for some form of glory hunting, and you're not. All you're doing is trying to be transparent, and I think that
I do struggle with that.
So
the last one I really didn't want to put up because I thought people just think I'm blowing my own trumpet, but I literally, if you've ever ask anyone who went to the meeting, and it's clear that I'm just I usually sit in the corner and just doodle.
Well, You don't really, to be fair, because I was at the last one that you blogged about, and you were out there.
in the best possible sense. No, we can't talk about me. I'm making my toenails go funny.
No, but I think as well. No, I'm not. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about general people. I don't think people realise how these meetings kind of play out sometimes. So, we're all adopters that go along, and we're all representing the thoughts and of adoptive families up and down, whether it's our experience or not. It might not even be relevant to us. It might just be that we're sharing a story that we've been informed about and stuff. And what I'm hearing more and more is as we gain momentum with this, actually we are bringing serious issues to the table. And that last one we did, similar to the CPV thing. We are bringing real life issues to these people who can actually pick it up and do something with it. Like we always say, you're never going to change it all overnight, and we know that. But if we, we're going to be adopters for however many years to come, if we've got even 5 minutes to be able to make one change, then why would we not have that opportunity? Why would we not grasp it with both hands and run with it? And like you say, it's not just you that's in that room. There could be up to 12 other people who are all, like you and I. It's that you like to be transparent about what you're doing. The end. There you go. My little rant and soapbox is put away for the evening.
Yeah, I went and made a cup of tea and came back. What were you saying? No, that was very good. Well done. 7 out of 10. No, so anyway,
7.
7. It was a high 6, but I was feeling generous. But I just but the debate I think was really healthy, and again, there's no finish lines, or there's very few finish lines. There's just kind of rest points, and I think it felt like another. We'd reached another sort of a milestone, as maybe something that actually it opened about, and I know that people were kind of frustrated that the response from the Home Office. People were asking, well, why the Home Office, and the response didn't seem to marry up with what he'd done, and it didn't, because speaking to Toby, he said basically he tables a debate and he gives a title, so the people come not necessarily knowing what he's going to say. So the response was to the title, which was child to parent violence, and that's why I didn't address his specific points, because they didn't know what his specific points were, and perhaps someone from Department for Education would have had a different answer, but
yeah. Well, that's interesting, because I was one of those people.
Were you? Well, shame on you.
Dr. Wendy put me in my place. Don't you worry about that.
Oh, she bought me a Belgian bun yesterday.
Oh, did she? Oh, bless her.
Yeah, it was lovely.
How she's spending her retirement money?
Yeah, she's buying me Belgian buns and telling me to write things. So that's what I'm doing. I'm busy writing things. Well, I'm conscious that we're coming up for 50 minutes now. So is there anything else you want to talk about, or should we call it a night?
Let me have a little look through my previously constructed list. Why did you like Celebrity February on there? What's that mean?
Because we're at the end of Celebrity February. There's no more. That's it.
Guys, there's no more celebrities. I'm sure we can get 1 on, 2 on. Seriously,
we could.
We need to get Suddenly Mummy back. She's a.
Oh, I know.
Sure.
I really would like to speak to Suddenly Mummy soon. I feel like it's been too long. Right. Well, hey ho. I hope you have a fantastic week, and let's call that quits. Busy week again. Let's call it quits.
You're bored now, yeah?
Well, I was looking at the time, and I was looking at the snow. I meant to go to Birmingham tomorrow for the child to parent violence conference for Bath.
Oh.
But I'm slightly concerned that I might not get there with the weather.
Yes. It's a little bit. See, every time I'm going north, you're coming south.
Where are you going tomorrow?
Never. I'm going to Leeds and Halifax tomorrow.
Oh, we'll pass. I'm really excited. What I found interesting is that this conference, I've got 20 minutes on the adopter's perspective on child to parent violence, and everyone else has got like 40 minutes, but I've got 20 minutes. So make of that what you will. Yeah, right, because that behaviour is language, so it works 2 ways. So everyone else has got 40-minute slots apart from me. I've got a 20-minute slot. And it's not about me, it's about the subject, which is adopters. perspectives on the thing. I thought, well, that in of itself speaks volumes. So there's my opening statement, isn't it?
I would believe so, yes.
So I shall report back on the Twitter. I might even blog that one up. Actually, what I thought I might do, I must remember, I might record it. Because I feel my blood's right up.
Oh, it sounds like your blood's right up as well. Well, interestingly, I'm doing a conference next week where I'm the keynote speaker.
Oh, what's this for?
It's the East Midlands adoption support thing. I don't know. It's the whole of the East Midlands. Anyway, it's not a national thing. It's just a small little thing. Apparently, she poor woman. I don't know. She must have been watching something else, but she came to the Adoption UK conference, and she contacted me soon after to ask me to be the keynote and talk about from adopters. Well, yeah, just about adoption support.
You're so unspecific about this at all. Do you actually know what you're doing?
I hate it because I was just like, why are you even asking me? Why? What? And she went, because you'll make it funny. And I went, okay, yeah, I can get that.
You're here for the laughs.
But this is the first conference that I've ever spoken at where Tris is present.
Oh no, that's gonna mess with your head.
And I'm like, oh, okay, so I've got number one. There's a few stories I can't use.
Just change the names, yeah.
And secondly, I just know that I'm going to be like, okay, did I say that right? Oh no, he's going to criticize me for that. Blah, blah, blah. Oh. So yeah, I'm with you. But yes, I agree with you. Go for it tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you get there.
If I get there.
If you don't get there, it wasn't meant to be, was it?
It was not meant to be.
Cool.
Hey ho, right. Okay, right. Well, you nick off. Have a good week, and I shall speak to you soon.
See you later.
Okay, bye. Oh, and if anyone's bored, and if you're still listening to the podcast by now, you haven't slipped into some sort of coma. It would be lovely if you could go onto iTunes and put a little 5 stars, tick the 5 stars if you feel the 5 stars, or 4 stars. No 3 stars, please.
There's only 5 stars available, isn't there?
Yeah. All the others don't count. And just a few words of encouragement. That would be great. Just because we do occasionally look, and we've got very fragile, delicate egos, and we need all the help we can get, don't we?
Yes, you're right about that.
Excellent. Okay.
Fabulous.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Thank you very much.